Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Michael Noland here, and today's video we cover Led Zeppelin's fifth magnificent album, Houses of the Holy. You know, for years, as I've stated before, this was my favorite Led Zeppelin, bar none. Not just for years though, but for decades. And for those of you who feel that this is Led Zeppelin's best album, I'm not going to argue with you one bit there. Because, you know, on one level, this is Led Zeppelin's very best album. Now let me explain what I mean by Houses of the Holy being Led Zeppelin's very best album. It's with this album that we hear a perfection that Led Zeppelin arrives at, making this album compare quite favorably with albums such as Abbey Road by the Beatles, Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd, and an album I've never even mentioned on the channel before. How about the album Avalon by Roxy Music? Gloss albums all. And yet, despite their gloss, they have something very artistic to put to the fore, an artistic statement that most of us grabbed onto immediately. So first of all, the album cover. It's the very best album cover Led Zeppelin has ever made. My goodness, when I saw this, I couldn't believe it. What is this album about? And when you opened the gatefold, you even got a better picture, of course, didn't you? But you know, as good as the album artwork is, it can't keep a sustained feeling about an album, of course. And for a long time, it was the music that drove me to this album constantly. On this album, Bonzo is the co-writer for 3 full complete songs. And like the last album, Led Zeppelin 4, John Paul Jones is responsible for no less than half of the tracks as far as compositional skills go, with the remaining 4 tracks written predominantly by Jimmy Page and Robert Plant. We have Led Zeppelin at a level of perfection that we hadn't seen before. Now, some of you may be saying, better than Led Zeppelin 4? Michael, you even claimed that that was your favorite album. And yes, it is. But this album, the sound, the totality, Led Zeppelin would not go beyond this level of production in any future albums, with the exception of In Through the Outdoor. But it's on that album that we see Led Zeppelin entering into the 80s and being influenced by the music that was coming up more than interpreting music as a total unit. But not so with Houses of the Holy. With Houses of the Holy, what do we get? We get the most mysterious album that Led Zeppelin ever produced, and let me explain what I mean by that. You see, with Houses of the Holy, we get an album that abounds with odd time signatures throughout. It's peppered throughout the album. And you know, even as a musician, I haven't nailed down all of these odd time signatures. I did a search on the internet, and it doesn't look like too many people have nailed down these time signatures either. It is still a current matter of debate. So, with no further ado, let's get right into the story, shall we? Alright, so the first track, the song remains the same. And you know, despite its title, this is where Led Zeppelin does not sound the same at all. Jimmy's solos, Bonzo's drums, John Paul Jones's wonderful bass work, and of course, with Robert Plant supplying the very best vocals a rock band could possibly hope for. And you know, it's with this song we start to see some explorations of time signatures, slipping in and out, rarely even connecting to the 4/4 beat. And you know, it's when Led Zeppelin explores this type of sonic territory, no band, not Deep Purple, not even the mighty Black Sabbath, can stand against them. It's this type of musical approach that Led Zeppelin supplied us with throughout their albums that kept them one step ahead of any other band that could possibly vie for the first spot in rock and roll during the 70s. You know, it's with The Song Remains the Same where we see Led Zeppelin celebrating differences, but not just with the general theme of the song, but musically. Sonically, this song stands out. First time, first listen, every single time. Next up, the Rain Song. You know, this has got to be one of Led Zeppelin's most beautiful songs. There is no contentious riffing going on here, and although they explore sonic territories just like they do with all of their material, this song is just so easy for the listener to absorb. Here we see in Robert Plant's lyrics that this is a different type of relationship with a female than he had predominantly on Led Zeppelin 4. This woman has something to offer him. This woman is his equal in every sense of the way. And to tell you the truth, right out of the gate, I thought this would be my favorite song by Led Zeppelin on this album, bar none. But I was wrong, because you know, it's in the very next track up. Odd signatures are not only there, but they abound at a frequency that all I can say is WTF? Where the hell was the band's head with this song? Wonderful song, terrific song. But you know, with the next song, Over the Hills and Far Away, we see Led Zeppelin as a total unit investigate sonic territories as well as odd time signatures once again. But you know what I hear with this song is Led Zeppelin slipping in and out of odd time signatures such as 9/8, 7/8, and then slipping back into 4/4 every once in a while. They're all over the place on this cut. But you know, it's on this track with Robert Plant's lyrics that taught me a valuable lesson in life. He talks about no more gurus, where he tells us many words have been written guessing about the things you really ought to know. This man knew right where he was when he wrote these lyrics. Now you would think with the next cut, Led Zeppelin would wisely lay back into a nice comfortable 4/4 tune, right? But no, where is that confounded bridge anyway? They perform the crunge. But here we see the song being slipped into a 9/8 pattern, with one measure being 4/8 and the next measure following it being 5/8, supplying an irregular rhythm to this song. I almost hear Motown with Led Zeppelin on this song. You know, and the first listening of this song, it kind of took me unawares, and I go, okay, there's the weaker cut on the album. But over the years, I gotta tell you, this is one of the very finest and strongest cuts on Houses of the Holy. Now it's with the next cut, Dancing Days, that Robert slips into an old motif that we've seen him, as far as lyrics are concerned, exploring the dubious benefits of hooking up with the woman in this song. This woman is out to party. This woman has everything he wants. But on further listenings, you realize this woman is still living with Mama, and she's lied to Mama about where she is, where she's going, and exactly what she's doing. And you know, it's on this cut, you almost hear Jamaican influences, but it's on the next cut, Mak'er, or probably more specific, Did You Mak'er, where Led Zeppelin shows us that not only are they rock's predominant rock band at that point in history, that they could do a take on reggae, only achieving a sound that could only be achieved if the band was on steroids. It's on this cut that I hear Bonzo as the originator. It's around his magnificent drumming where the rest of the band comes in and actually writes this song together. And you know, John Paul's bass on this song, it's very interesting. We've covered how he usually does this overall coverage on the bass guitar, allowing Jimmy Page and Bonzo to interconnect, right? All to the band's betterment. But on this song, it seems like sometimes he's tied in with Jimmy Page and sometimes he's tied in with Bonzo. What other bass player could do this? You know, and it's with this type of playing that brings John Paul Jones as a bass player in my head as my number 2 favorite bass player in rock and roll history. You know, it's with the next song, No Quarter. Actually, one of my very favorite Led Zeppelin tracks, and the single most track on this album that kept pulling me back to this album. Here we see Robert Plant's lyrics treading familiar grounds that were established with a magnificent song, the Immigrant Song. But you know, there is no mystery to my ears whatsoever as to who the progenitor of this song was, and that is John Paul Jones. It's his entire laying down of the keyboard where the entire band kind of comes in and focuses on specific elements and takes it into new directions. Just a wonderful forward-facing track, and they accomplish something here on this track they never quite accomplished again. This is the mysterious, this is the mighty Led Zeppelin at their very best. Which of course leads us to the final track. What track could they possibly come up with to end this album on a solid footing, igniting an interest to re-listen to this album? Well, not to worry, they supplied us with just one heck of a tune here. The Ocean. You know, to my ears, this is a Bonzo song predominantly. I think this entire song was written around Bonzo's drum pattern. And you know, out of all the drummers in rock who receive partial songwriting credit, Bonzo is the one drummer where I see that credit properly being given to. And listen to John Paul Jones' bass here. Again, he's peppering stuff in and out, usually where Jimmy Page is doing the peppering. No, it is John Paul Jones taking on an almost guitar-oriented type of bass playing that really carries this song. You know, it's with this final track, this final song, that Led Zeppelin provides us with the perfect track that almost invites us to re-listen to this album immediately. A wonderful track and a truly superior album by Led Zeppelin. All right, so that about covers the video for tonight. I want to thank you all for all of your magnificent responses. I'm getting some terrific comments on the channel. And of course, you may be seeing some names here below, and that of course is always my way of saying thank you to brand new subscribers. And of course, I always want to provide a shout out to fellow channels that have helped this channel grow, and of course, those channels are The R&B Show, Royce in the House, Beetle Dave, and Tudor Smith. Thanks, guys. You've really helped the channel grow. I appreciate all of your support. And of course, I encourage my listeners to watch your channels as well. Thanks so much. All right, so as I've stated before, I ran into some post-productions on my review of the Revolver album and Rubber Soul, and it's my full intention to get that video out ASAP as I continue my series on the Beatles, of course. A big shout out to all of our viewers in general. If you haven't actually joined the tribe, you sure have helped us in our total viewage, I'll tell you that for sure. But you know, if you haven't subscribed to the tribe and you've thought of doing so, it's so very easy. All you have to do is hit that subscribe to the tribe button, hit that top bell notification, and you'll be notified of all future videos. Okay guys, so that about covers it for tonight. I want to thank everybody for dropping by and taking a look at my latest video, of course. This is The Bottom Line. I'm Michael Noland, and I will see you in the next video.